Greetings, War Thunderers. This is Longshot with you again. This is a tutorial on flying the MiG-3-15 BK in arcade and continues my series on underrated, misused and neglected fighter planes. From my own observations in-game, it's obvious to me that many pilots don't know how to fly this plane. As a new cannon-armed version's just been released in patch 1.41, I think a tactics guide is much needed. I think the problem stems from ignorance of the role the plane was designed to perform, and I don't believe a new version with cannon will make things easier, assuming it has the same flight characteristics. It's not the weapons that make this plane difficult, it's the tactics so many people use. Let me put it in a nutshell. This plane is a high-altitude interceptor. It's designed for speed, not for dogfighting. How do many players fly this plane? They dogfight at low altitude. There are many other planes that are misused in this fashion in War Thunder, but the MiG is very limited when you take it out of its comfort zone. Fly it to its strengths and you'll do very well indeed. Fly it as if it's an Ishak and it won't forgive you. Trust me, you will crash and burn. So some basics before I get started. It's armed with 3 12.7mm heavy machine guns on the nose and 2 Shkaz light machine guns on the wings. For the heavies I've selected the ground target belts, which seem to offer the best mix of hitting power and incendiaries, though the other belts are pretty good, and stealth belts for the 7.62mm, while convergence is set to 400 meters. Now this plane climbs extremely well for its tier and rating, and it's quick to accelerate. It rolls fairly well, but its response to both rudder and elevator is sluggish. The controls stiffen at extreme high speeds, and it wallows like a pig at low speed. All of which says that you should climb, keep the plane moving quickly, and practice hit and run attacks. That's the essence of flying an interceptor. I'll walk through the tactics involved, and to begin with I'm starting with altitude supremacy. In this battle I've climbed, watching the movement of each enemy plane, and I'm just taking care of the threat posed by that lag, which is the highest enemy fighter. I'm faking a head-on at him, and now I'm going to steeply climb, inviting him to climb after me and stall his plane. If he does, I'll hammerhead over and take him out, but it looks like he's diving away, which means I have altitude supremacy. So what's the point of getting control of high altitude? Well, it means two things. Firstly, enemy fighters can't attack my team's bombers unless they get past me, and secondly, I can shoot their bombers down or force them to dive into the furball below. And that's exactly what I'm going to do next, go bomber hunting. The 350 cals on this plane are at least as good as the American Brownings, possibly even better. They can do some serious damage when lined up on a target. So I'll just blow past this A6M2N. Good to see one of those at altitude, by the way. And then approach from underneath the TBF so his gunner doesn't fire and alert him. Nice and close, and let him have it. Now for the G4M1. Oh, where'd he go? Oh, there he is. Oh, same thing. Approach from low. Wary of his tail cannon. Then let it rip. And that should do it. So those were two easy targets. How about an H6K4 that's climbed to the stratosphere where it'll bomb our bases if I don't stop him? The MiG is certainly up to the task. Now a second burst climb to get me almost in range. He's still climbing, by the way. Right, now I'll let my engine cool and gain some speed, and then I'll attack. Okay, so how about one of the toughest low-tier planes there is, the Bf-110? No problem. You can and should hunt every bomber you meet. There are none in this battle rating range that you can't kill. The next thing I want to cover is how to suppress climbing fighters, and it's really quite easy. As they're climbing, they'll be low on speed and unable to maneuver. So you get behind them and let loose from mid to close range. We all know what that Chiker could do if he could start turn fighting me, but I'm just not going to give him the chance. And the same with this Hayabusa. It's great when two of them line up for you. How hard was that? In this next example, I'd seen a friendly bomber under attack, but he dives even though I'd asked him not to. I'm not about to follow him down through the enemy fighter spawn, so unfortunately he's on his own. I'm unable to help him, and I hate it when bombers do that. What I can do is get revenge on that Yak 7 when he climbs. That was a bit close for comfort, but he falls to his death, and then I'll dive to attack another climber. You're at so much danger when you climb. It's so important to keep your eyes on a swivel when you are. Because when you're climbing, your plane is slow and it's hard to maneuver. Okay, so this guy's seen me coming or whatever and he's dived away. So I turn and then I see another enemy who's just popped out of the cloud on my left. At first I think he's coming for me, but then I realise that he has tunnel vision for another friendly. And it's a shame to see a beautiful plane die like that. Okay, in this battle I'd been killing bombers soon after spawn, so a P-47 decided to climb up and deal with me. What he should have done was climb off to the side of the map. Climbing up directly beneath me? That was suicide. I'm just watching and letting him lose his energy. So he's a nice, big, fat, slow target. I thought I might have needed another pass to finish him off, but as it turned out, once was enough. Another example from a domination game, where I'd also been hunting bombers with considerable success. Just getting past that F2A behind him, so he has to turn his plane right over to get guns on me. He does, but it stalls him out, and that was an easy hit. This I-16 is not much lower than me, so I'm using WEP in a false head-on attack, diving to gain speed, and then I'll climb as steeply as I can, hoping to again stall his plane if he tries to follow me. That slight difference in speed and altitude was all I needed to keep out of his reach, though I pushed a little too far before trying to hammerhead, which meant that by the time I had guns on him he'd recovered from his stall, and he was able to evade me. If he'd reached my altitude, he could easily have danced around me in a turn fight, but my tactics are preventing him from doing so. He's trying again, so I'll repeat the manoeuvre, which is, of course, the rope-a-dope. Watch the distance start to increase as he stalls, which is why I'm watching him so closely. Unfortunately, I've climbed a little too hard once more, and therefore I'm too slow to drop over into a diving attack, and that gives him a chance to dive away. This tactic is such a fine balancing act. So he's realised what's up and he's diving for cover. All I can do is send a stream of bullets after him and then break and climb. Okay, so let's move on and look at the boom and zoom attack. If all the action's happening at ground level, this is how you take part in it without joining that furball and turn fighting. Because if you try to turn fight in a MiG, you will die. It's that simple. So I've dived down at the massive red plains from about 1500 to 2000 metres, taking my time choosing the easiest target once I get close. And then without turning at all, whether I kill him or not, I'm accelerating away using WEP and climbing back to my starting point. Except in this case I make a detour to kill a bomber. So the basics of this strategy are: dive from altitude, choose and fire at your target, extend away at full speed checking your 6 for anyone who's following you, and then climb again when it's safe to do so. Pretty simple. And at all times use your eyes. Look around you constantly. Keep track of where everyone is. Look for enemies who might climb after you. Look for easy targets to dive on. Look to position your plane so that after your next dive you'll be escaping towards friendlies. The time between attacks might seem like it's wasted, but it's saving your life when you next attack. If you don't climb high enough, you won't have escape speed. You'll come under fire and you'll die. There don't seem to be any more new planes on the way, so it's time to nose over and start my next attack run. I'm looking for a target that's flying as slow and straight as possible, hopefully in the same direction that I'm travelling. That one will do. Now I'll just check my 6 as I fly towards friendly territory, make sure no one's picked me up, and now I can climb. It might seem so tempting to just follow an enemy into that furball. Resist that temptation. Don't be anxious to get the kill. This plane is not a turn fighter. It can't compete with planes that are, which is most of them. I can't stress that enough. And yes, there'll be battles when all you get on your diving attacks are hits with very few kills. Learn to accept it, as this tactic is very effective with higher tier planes, and it's well worth learning. And the guns on this plane are pretty good. You will get kills. You might think you'll get more kills at a faster rate by dogfighting, but in reality, your MiG will die, and you'll be spawning a lag or an ishak in its place. Chances are you'll fly those planes first, and the MiG will never even leave your hangar. However, using boom and zoom with this plane, I've easily gained 5 kills in this battle, with more to come if I don't make a mistake, and not a single bullet has been fired in my direction. That would not be the case if I took it into a furball. One thing I've done in other videos, particularly with the Heinkel 112s, is continue at low level for a high speed turn before escaping. I wouldn't suggest it with this plane. It doesn't retain energy very well in turns at all. That lag is an obvious target, particularly as he's starting to climb right in front of me, and we know how dangerous that is. Okay, another domination battle, though I should say these tactics apply equally to ground strike when everything moves to low level, as often happens, especially late in the battle. So, as I dive here, I see that Hurricane higher than the rest of his team, and so always attack the highest targets first, otherwise you'll find them diving on you as you climb, and you don't want that. There have been quite a few enemies higher up in the early part of this battle, so I'm climbing more than usual between diving attacks, and of course looking around a lot, as I'm very vulnerable while climbing, especially at the top of the climb, when my plane has lost all its speed. Don't want someone attacking me then. So I'm just waiting for that F2A and Heinkel to reach the furball before I dive in. Right. So as I dive, look at the targets and pick which one you'd attack. You can change your mind on the way as things develop. I always do. I've chosen the Dauntless because it was slow and flying in a straight line, and that made him the easiest plane to kill. This strategy does mean that you simply can't cap runways. You just have to hope there's others on the team that will fulfill that role, while you focus on killing aircraft. Always check your 6 when you climb. Unfortunately, in this game, my team's getting hammered. Now I can continue to boom and zoom even though most of the planes down there are red. I just have to plan my attacks carefully and be extra watchful for climbing enemies. But here I make a mistake. I'm sucked in by the stream of enemies heading in this direction, so I dive onto their tail, and the problem is that this is taking me away from my spawn and towards their home airfield. Breaking a rule. So with few friendlies left, I've attracted attention and now I'm in hostile territory. Plus I've flown a fair distance and I've lost my situational awareness. Which means I don't see another MiG zooming in on me until it's too late and I'm in his gun sights, and what's worse, it's right at the top of my climb when I'm almost at stall speed. Finally I see him and I dive away as quickly as I can, but not before taking some serious hits. All of that could have been avoided if I had just planned my attack properly in the first place. If you fail to plan a boom and zoom attack, you plan to fail. Now I've got to hope that he takes too long to turn and follow, or that he switches to another target. No such luck. Okay, so he probably has more energy than me and this plane can't dodge or weave very well. My only hope is to slam the brakes on to make him overshoot. And I do that by switching off the engine, climbing and then snap rolling to induce a stall spin. And that works, he overshoots, but it worked too well. I couldn't recover from the spin quickly enough to take advantage and a Bf-110 has now joined in. And I'm caught low and slow, so officially I'm doomed. I could probably go in an indefinite turn fight against the MiG, but not against the 110. And there goes the tail control. So it's all over, unless the battle ends first. Just gotta try and hold it up as long as I can. No, it's heading down now. The clock's running out. Damn it. So that's the MiG-3-15 BK. To fly it effectively, your tactics are simple. Climb. Use its speed for hit and run attacks. Hunt bombers and kill climbing fighters. Practice the art of boom and zoom, and never ever slow down to dogfight. Using these tactics I went from 29 kills and 13 deaths to 91 kills and 22 deaths at an average of 3 kills a battle. As always, I'm showing these stats to illustrate the effectiveness of the tactics rather than my skill as a pilot, as I myself still have a lot to learn. To see what a true master can do with this plane, look no further than my good friend AIM-120 AMRAAM, who has amassed over 500 kills at 5 kills a battle while only dying 11 times. Anyway, I do hope you found the video helpful. Please comment here or at the forum and let me know what you think. Plus, you're welcome to vote for planes you'd like me to look at as part of this series. Thanks for watching.